Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the channel. Welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C Race and Strategy Guide. We are heading to Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona and we are in the Group 4 machinery. 10 laps to get round this famous circuit. Tyre wear only at times 5, but actually plays a bigger role than you might expect. Fuel is again at times 7. I guess you kind of know what that means. Just the racing hard tyres available. There's no wet weather at Circuit de Catalunya, so you will not need the wet tyres. There's no mandatory rules in terms of pit stops or anything like that. BOP is on, damage is light, it's a rolling start, and slipstream is real. So yeah, quite an interesting combination if you ask me. I know we did this fairly recently in GT Sport, and I always said I couldn't believe that GT Sport had been going for 4 years and we'd never had Group 4 at Circuit de Catalunya as a daily race C, and then all of a sudden 3-4 weeks, 5 weeks into GT7's life, we have Group 4 at Circuit de Catalunya. But first thing I just want to point out is you do not want to be making a pit stop in this one if you can avoid it. So here we are, synced up, 2 laps, one doing a pit stop, one not doing a pit stop, and yeah. There we go, there's our car finally getting into the pit box. So as you can imagine, the pit loss is quite a lot here. We've got the car that's not made a pit stop nearly into turn number 4, just about approaching turn number 4 by the time we actually exit the pit lane. And all in all, and I've not measured it exactly to be honest with you, but you're losing well over 30 seconds if you make a pit stop. So you do not want to be making a pit stop in this one. However, if you do make a pit stop, make sure you follow the white lane etiquette, because you will pick up a 3-second penalty for doing a GT Sport-esque pit entry, and you will also pick up a 3-second penalty for doing a GT Sport-esque pit exit, you know, swinging on to the old racing line there with no regard for your fellow competitors. But yeah, you don't want to be making a pit stop, so that is not really that relevant. One thing that will be very relevant for this one is the track limits, particularly on this last chicane. So in GT Sport, you can absolutely muller those curbs and get away with it. It was easily the fastest way to go. Now you will have to be a lot more respectful of these curbs in Gran Turismo 7. As you can see here, what we did in the first example you could get away with in GT Sport. I'm pretty sure you get away with that in GT Sport as well. So you do want to just give those curbs a little bit more respect than you were in GT Sport. You still can cut the second one here by a bit. You know, there's a decent example there. We did actually take quite a lot of curb on that last example, and no penalty. But yeah, practice that little chicane. You can just kind of restart qualifying over and over and over again just to try and find out the track limits for that chicane. It will serve you well for the race, I can assure you. So moving on to the live racing action, and as you've probably figured out from the fuel being at times 7 and the fact I'm telling you not to make a pit stop, this one is a little bit of a fuel saver. So when the race gets underway and you've got this kind of intro sequence, make sure you put your fuel map on to number 6 at this point. It might save you 1% of fuel, which could be crucial towards the end of the race. It certainly won't do you any harm, that is for sure. And yeah, this race is quite fuel limited. It's not fuel limited in the way that we had at Spa. You can still race, you still can kind of drive the car a little bit quicker. You don't have to go into every situation just thinking fuel, 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 fuel. You can kind of burn off a little bit of fuel, put in some faster laps, and then kind of bring that fuel back a little bit towards the end of the race. So definitely a fuel saver, but definitely not to the extent as we had with the Group 3 cars at Spa. So we're using the Nissan GTR here because I don't actually own the Atenza yet. The Atenza, I'm suspecting, will be the fastest car, but if Autopolis was anything to go by, the GTR could certainly compete with it to a certain extent. And I do like the GTR anyway. It's a good looking car, I like the way it drives, and yeah, there's 2 things I'm going to kind of tell you you're going to have to keep in mind for this one. You're going to have to keep an eye on that fuel, that is for sure, but as I'm going to demonstrate here, when you get into a sort of situation where you maybe have to pass a car, you can rev the car out a little bit. I was maybe sort of changing around about a third of the way up the rev limiter, maybe sometimes halfway up the rev limiter, just on fuel saving laps. But in this example here, we had to get by the Honda NSX, so we revved the car out, and yeah, the fuel was absolutely no problem whatsoever in that regard. And the other thing is this race is all about avoiding penalties. It's all about avoiding those track limit penalties. It's all about avoiding those contact penalties, because as you can see, we started down in P18, I think, in this one. We're up to P8 now. I think we've made one overtake on that Honda NSX, and we're just passing everybody else by not getting penalties, not exploiting the track limits, not getting involved in any shenanigans with other drivers. And by the end of the race, we were up to P6, and you know, P4 is not too far away, and we've been a million miles away off drivers of the calibre of Wind and Tidgeney up there in P3, who's obviously putting his video together for later on. Now, the tyres on these four-wheel drive cars do play a little bit of a part. I definitely felt the tyres starting to give up towards the last couple of laps. Definitely a lot of understeer on the tight corners trying to get these cars in. So the tyres will play a little bit of a role in this one for some people who are bad on tyres. Do keep that in mind. But yeah, we kind of literally just passed everybody by letting them serve penalties. We went from P18 up to P6, and yeah, the GTR actually feels quite good around here. And I think actually several cars are pretty decent. We used to Ferrari in the first race as well. Now our lap times were terrible because we got caught up in so many shenanigans early on in the race and just getting held up by other drivers. Got a few penalties along the way as well. But the Ferrari, once I was able to kind of get a bit of clear air, I was able to get down into the 55s, even though the tyres were worn, and I was having to do a decent bit of fuel saving towards the end as well. But I think there is quite a lot of cars that are usable in this one. The Atenza is definitely going to be up there. The GTR, I think, was pretty good on fuel. I just kept in fuel mix 1 the entire time. Same with the Ferrari. I never played with the fuel mix in any of the cars that I tried there. So I think it's, as I said, it's definitely a fuel saver. You have to keep that fuel in mind, but it's not the way it was in Spa with the Group 3 cars. You can actually race a little bit. You can actually kind of drive the car a little bit harder for the majority of the race. But definitely keep it in mind as the race progresses, and definitely check that fuel meter at least at the halfway point, see where you are, and then start maybe adjusting at that point. Other things though to keep in mind are definitely those track limit penalties. People are going to get caught out by that last chicane all week, I'm pretty sure, because people are so used to just cutting it in Gran Turismo Sport. Good thing for me, I like to see that I think it's a good thing that they've kind of tightened up that track limit. And yeah, generally just avoid contact as well. People will get a little bit desperate. There's no strategy, so to speak, to try and avoid other drivers. So you're going to see contact penalties in this one. So just try and keep yourself out of trouble and take advantage of other people's woes. But yeah, another no stopper, another bit of a fuel saver. I can understand that people may be a little bit disappointed with that, but I did have quite a lot of fun in the 2 races I did. We will be live streaming this one a couple of times over the course of the week. My plan was to live stream it today on Monday, but for reasons that I'm not really going to mention, I'm not going to bother. I think you can probably work it out. But yeah, we will certainly be live streaming this one a couple of times over the course of the week. So do join me for that if you can. We'll use some different cars. We'll kind of just, as I said, I think there's a lot of cars that are usable in this one rather than just being an Atenza fest. And the Atenza is going to suffer with that tyre wear towards the end as well. A bit like we've seen on the Nissan GTR. But yeah, hopefully this video has been useful in some way, shape or form to get you prepared for this race. If it has, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber. And I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.